Hi everyone, and thanks once again for tuning in to Smash Factor TV. Today we're going to have a look at how to create more backspin for you with your golf shots. So hopefully you'll get some stop on the green and even some pullback towards you. Let's go and have a look at what we need to do to create that backspin on your golf shots. So with today's video tip, we're going to have a look at how to get you creating more backspin on your golf shots. Now, when you hit your golf shots, they will have a level of spin on them, but we want to try and maximize that so you can start to stop your golf ball on the greens so that you can attack the flag a lot more. Now, first of all, before we get into this, there's just a couple of things we need to run through here. Number one is you need to use good equipment. So if you have got a very old wedge and the grooves aren't as sharp as they were, there's nicks all over the face, you need to get better grooves on that golf club. So tour players will change their wedges, their irons, kind of 4 times a year minimum really, to make sure that the grooves are staying sharp. So make sure you do that. Second thing we need to talk about is the golf ball. Okay, you need to be playing with a premium golf ball. If you're playing with a golf ball that's designed for distance, that is not going to help you achieve a lot of spin. So play with a premium type of golf ball that's going to give you good spin. Okay, next thing we need to talk about, conditions. Now, you can't control this, but if the golf ball's wet, if the club face is wet, and if the grass is wet, it's going to be difficult for you to create a really high level of backspin with those conditions. So we do need certain types of conditions. We want it to be dry, and also if you've got the chance here, when you've taken your practice swing, make sure you're cleaning that face off, get all the grass off it, any dew, any debris, any mud. Make sure those grooves are really clean and the face of that club is dry. Okay, next thing we also want to look at, conditions. So if we were hitting out a grass that's really long, as we've got here, that is not going to help us to hit a shot with backspin. Okay, that grass is going to get trapped between the club face and the grooves of the club face and the golf ball, and it is not going to help you to create friction, okay, which is something that we really need to create some backspin. Okay, so with all that said, let's get stuck in to have a look at what you've got to do to create backspin. Okay, so creating spin is going to boil down to 3 things if conditions are good. And here we go, we've got a nice crisp lie here, we've got a tight lie so we can nip the ball off that. We've got really good grooves on the club face is clean and dry, and we're using a premium ball, and also it's clean and dry. So 3 things that we need to look at here to create backspin. Number 1 is club head speed as you go through the ball. So the best chance you've got of creating backspin would be with a full shot, a full wedge, because you're going to be hitting the ball with maximum speed. A softer shot with a chip, you're not hitting the ball as hard, you're not swinging that club head as fast through impact, so you're not going to generate as much speed. So try to keep the club head moving as quickly as possible through that golf ball if you want to generate maximum backspin. Okay, we also need to look at something called spin loft. Now, spin loft is to do with the club face and the loft of club that you're playing with, and also your angle of attack. Now, this can seem a little bit scientific, and it can seem a little bit confusing, but it is really quite simple. If I just grab 2 alignment poles here, what we're going to talk about here for spin loft is you must try to get a downward strike, which we know if we're hitting irons or the golf ball off the turf, we need a downward strike. So we need the club head moving down and through the ball as it strikes. So we're going to represent that with the red pole. Now the yellow pole is going to represent the loft of the club face, and what we want to look at here is the dynamic loft. So that just means the loft as you are actually hitting the ball. Okay, so we want as much loft on that club face as possible. So we're going to play with your most lofted club, and we want the club moving on a downward movement through the ball, a downward angle of attack. So the greater we can get the difference between the dynamic loft and your angle of attack, the bigger we can make the difference between these two, the more spin loft you're going to create. And spin loft's just really important here. If we don't have a lot of spin loft, you won't create a lot of spin onto the golf ball. With that being said, you can get to a point where you create too much spin loft and then you won't create enough friction. And that's the third thing that we're going to talk about now, which is crucial if you're going to hit a great shot, and that is friction. Okay, so friction is a bit like glue, if you like, between the ball and the club face. And what we want to do here is we want to create friction by the club face coming in. It's going to strike on the ball here, and then the ball is going to climb up that club face like it's stuck to it with glue. And the stronger that glue is, the more that you get that ball crawling up the club face there, then the more friction you're creating. So really important, if we're going to take all of these three things into consideration here, are how we're going to achieve club head speed, good spin loft, and also good friction. Okay, so we know we want a slightly downward angle of attack. So when we get set up, rather than positioning yourself and playing the ball in the center of your feet, we want to play the ball just to your trail foot, so just right of center there, because that's more likely to encourage us to have a downward angle of attack. And we're just going to pressure slightly more into the left foot, so say 55, maybe up to a maximum 60% into the left foot. What we certainly don't want to do is swing back and then go this way, because that would mean we'd catch the turf before we hit the ball, or we'd skim the ground and then we'd be on the upswing. And we don't want to be on the upswing, we want to be on the downswing. So ball position slightly back in the stance, slightly more pressure on that front foot. And the other thing we want to do here to maintain that spin loft, we could open the club face up just a fraction. That would give us a little bit more additional loft. So just rotate the handle to the right slightly and then place your hands on. So we've got a slightly more open face. You can now, to re-square that, just position yourself slightly more to the left if you're a right-handed golfer, so the club face is pointing back at the target. Okay, so we're in a great position now to hit this ball, but if we come in and we start to scoop and we release the wrists a little bit early, again, we're going to bottom the club before we get to the ball, and we're going to catch the ball on the upswing, and we want to catch down on the downswing. So here's a good little drill for us to practice doing. If you just take a coin, which is extremely thin, so if we look at the width of the coin there versus the width of the ball, okay, you can put the coin on the floor, and then all we have to do is practice just clipping that coin off the floor. Remember, we talked about getting the ball slightly back in the stance, pressure slightly forward. We've got our most lofted club. We're just going to open the club face a little bit, so rotate it to the right. And we want to hit that quite firmly, but we can practice. This is a drill so that we know, you can see that coin's flipped up. So I know that the low point of my swing was exactly where that coin was. Okay, so now when we've got good at doing that as a drill, we could start to maybe put the ball on top of the coin. Same sort of thing again. Remember, we want club head speed. We want good spin loft. So we want to make sure as we go through, we're maintaining the wrist angles. We're not flicking the wrist like this. And we want to get that downward hit as well, which the coin will indicate to us. So now, if you can do 5 in a row, just clipping the coin off the turf there. Then put the ball on top, see if we can get 5 in a row where you've still clipped the coin. Because what that's going to ensure is that as you come in, That club head is moving down towards the ball, and you're now going to get a very low contact on that club face with that golf ball. So that club face is going to really connect really low down in the grooves, and we're going to get a lot of friction as you move up there. You could also spray the face of the club so you can see where you're getting that impact mark. We want it nice and low down in the grooves and not high up here. But that coin drill is a really good drill to help you with that. And once you've seen that you're starting to get that connection, that low point in the right place, we've got the downward hit, but we've got a very lofted club, we're getting a low strike mark on the grooves, you're going to be producing some really high numbers for spin rate, stopping the ball on the green and even seeing it pull back to you. Once you've got good at that, obviously just start to hit the ball without the coin underneath it, but the coin will give you loads of feedback to help you with that drill. It's another game-changing golf tip.